Hey, what's up, you guys? Yes, I'm not Shane Dawson. Anyway, I'm going to talk to you today about conspiracy theories, and more specifically, Disney conspiracy theories. One type of conspiracy theory I'm very fascinated about are myths. A myth is basically something you've been hearing for a long time, and nobody really knows if it's real or not. And it doesn't really have to be scary, it can be something stupid, like waiting 30 minutes before you get back in the pool after you eat. People don't really know if it's real or not, but they usually hear it and don't do what it says. Number one, Walt Disney's body is somewhere frozen in Disneyland. This is one I've been hearing since I was a child, and honestly, I kind of believe it. Walt Disney was a genius. He created Mickey Mouse, he created an empire, and most importantly, he created Disneyland. Well, December 15th of 1966. He died from lung cancer at the age of 65. The myth goes that he was dying and he asked doctors if there was ever going to be a cure, and the doctors responded with, maybe not right now, but I'm sure in 30 or 40 years there would be a cure. Well, because Walt Disney was a genius and had mass amounts of money, he supposedly created a chamber where he would be frozen and kept there until the time came that there was a cure. Well, hoping 50 years from then, they would just unfreeze his body, give him the cure, and then he could keep on living. This myth spread super fast after he died because the family was so secretive about where his funeral was, who was in attendance, where he was going to be buried, stuff like that. So many people, even workers that work at Disney to this day, believe his body is frozen somewhere. And most people believe that it's inside the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. I mean, I don't know. It wouldn't be a surprise to me considering this guy was literally such a genius. I know a lot of you guys are like, I don't know, this sounds crazy, but just let me tell you this. This is the same guy that wanted to put Disneyland under a bubble. He wanted to keep it away from rainstorms, he wanted to control the climate, he wanted it to be its own world. Got really close to doing this, but unfortunately, he died before it went through. And that's a crazy idea, but is it as crazy as freezing his own body? Not really. A lot of people have testified and has said that they've seen his ghost around Disneyland and have even heard him singing on the Haunted Mansion ride. I mean, we don't know if this is true or false, but that's what makes this a really cool myth. Number two, the skeletons on the Disneyland ride Pirates of the Caribbean are real. Well, you've probably heard of this one, and rumor has it that the skeletons on the original Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Disneyland, California are actually real. Actual dead bodies sprawled across a Disney ride. The fact is, it's partially true. Well, the story goes in the 1960s, when they were actually building the ride, they were using fake ones and trying to put everything together, but they looked way too fake. So, their solution, use real ones. So, the most speculated thing was that they contacted the medical center at UCLA and had them send a few over. The even crazier one that I saw was that they were actual people from death row that donated their bodies to science. Years later, Imagineers got better at making realistic looking skeletons, and the gruesome real ones got replaced. Or did they? There are many articles saying that the real skeletons on the Pirates of the Caribbean to this day, the only one that Disney cast members will confirm is the one above the captain's bed. That one is 100% real, and every Disneyland junkie knows this. Some say that it is actually personally donated by one of the Imagineers. I guess he worked on this ride and he wanted to be immortalized in his project, but people wonder if there are others around the attraction besides that. In my research, I came across an article by Ears Up Podcast. The writer claimed that they actually had an inside source working on the ride who was actually holding the skulls and bones in their hands, and he got a close-up look at the very fine details. I'm talking the inside cavities of the nose. Details that even Disney artists wouldn't even bother adding. They were confident enough to officially confirm that there were 3 others still on site. They even shared their up-close photos to prove it. So when you travel down the second drop in the beginning, you pass an island on your right, and it has 3 skeletons sitting on it. Apparently, the one that's stabbed in the back, laying with his belly next to the crab, is a real human skull. The skull and ribcage of the skeleton pinned to the wall is also real human remains. The 3rd skeleton is in the jail cell scene, where he or she is crushed under a beam. I do want to point out, though, that this article was written in 2013, and I've been looking at a lot of ride-through videos, and interestingly enough, I think that the skull down in the sand next to the crab was recently replaced. The video stated before 2013 had an even creepier looking skull that matched the article photos, but after that, it's a totally different skull. And comparatively, it looks fake. Maybe Disney's finally cracked down and got rid of that one. Did Disney get in trouble? Did the article go too far in exposing him? Who knows? Number 3. The bellhop that haunts the Tower of Terror. Among all the princesses and the fireworks and the songs about wishing upon a stars and dreams coming true, every theme park needs a haunted house. No, I'm not talking about the Haunted Mansion. How about the Haunted Hotel? The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is in Disney's Hollywood Studios. It's creepy enough as it is, but the legend tells that the ride is actually haunted by a cast member who died on the ride. So the story goes that one of the bellhops was loading on a platform D or Delta, and he just dropped dead right there on the spot. Most of the resources say that he died on the elevator, but from personal experiences, I know that the bellhops don't typically get in the elevator. They usually stand off to the side. That doesn't matter. What matters is the guy died. People apparently don't know the cause of death, but many people say that it was death by a heart attack. Now, it's said that bellhop cast members refuse to get on platform D by themselves. If you're working one of the platforms and it's closing time, it's your duty to ride through and make sure everything's working properly. See if the effects are on cue, if the lights are working, etc. Usually, you just need one person to ride through and make sure everything's okay. But when it comes to platform D, there's an agreement among all the cast members that no one ever goes on that elevator by themselves. It has to be two or more people. This is because Delta is haunted. Lights will flicker on and off, or they will turn off altogether. And as someone who's already a little bit scared of this ride, that's just a no for me. So bottom line, props would be moved, lights would go off, the ride would freeze. That's not exactly fun. And I even read that 2 cast members wrote that they rode the ride, all the lights turned off, and the people watching the cameras didn't even see anything happening. Some bellhops even say that they see a shadowy figure in the corner of their eye at night, around the boiler room where the guests are loaded on, or sometimes in the background of the ride. There's even camera footage of a maintenance man with a ghostly guest behind him. YouTube removed this video, or maybe Disney told them to remove it. So, is this true? Well, there's a theory that no one actually died in the parks, but that's a whole different other theory. But there's no record of a bellhop dying on the Tower of Terror. The only first-hand account I found was on Wattpad.com, under a writing simply titled Scary Stories by the user The Erkenshires. It's probably the biggest collection of information you can find on this myth, but the mystery is unsolved. That's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed these myths or conspiracy theories about Disney. And if you're into them, go do your own research.